The Indiana Fever just whooped the Dallas Wings, and I want to talk about Caitlin Clark's playmaking because I know the shot hasn't been falling for her in the past few games, but her playmaking is something that has to be studied, man. It is her second year in the WNBA, and she is already by far the greatest playmaker in WNBA history. And even in all these games where Caitlin Clark is not shooting the ball well,
creating content like this is a journey of trial and error. Don't be discouraged if your first few attempts don't hit the mark perfectly. The key is to study what works, learn from your mistakes, and keep refining your craft. You're learning a valuable skill, and with persistence and a focus on quality storytelling, you will find your audience and build a successful channel. Keep pushing forward.
A few of the turnovers that, the 4 turnovers today, I think a few of them were picked off by Caitlin. Was there anything in particular that you saw maybe that she was kind of step ahead, or it kind of seemed like she was jumping the passing lanes a few times?
Yeah. I mean, you answered it. She was just, she's just a very smart basketball player, so she'll get out and deny passing lanes. And make catches difficult. But yeah.
The fierce rivalry that once set college basketball on fire has finally spilled into the professional arena, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of a hard-fought battle between titans, we just witnessed a public execution, and in the aftermath, one superstar's raw, unfiltered comments at a press conference have exposed a shocking truth about jealousy, pressure, and a rivalry that is rapidly turning toxic.
like no one else, and it's all dependent upon the Indiana Fever getting stops. They got so many stops against the Dallas Wings in this game, especially in the second quarter, and off those stops, the Fever were able to get out in transition. And if Caitlin Clark has the ball in transition and players are cutting to the basket, like Kelsey Mitchell, she was cutting a lot. Natasha Howard was also cutting a lot. You had Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, those girls shifting out to the three-point line in transition, so Caitlin Clark can make those passes if she wants to. Like, if everybody drifts to the right place while Caitlin Clark has the ball in transition, I'm telling you, this Indiana Fever team becomes unstoppable.
What happened on the court was nothing short of a demolition. The Indiana Fever didn't just beat the Dallas Wings, they dismantled them piece by piece in a lopsided 102-83 victory. This was supposed to be the next great chapter between Caitlin Clark and Paige Beuckers, but it quickly became clear that the two stars are living in completely different worlds.
It is also only Caitlin Clark's third game back from injury, and this season for the Indiana Fever has been a roller coaster ride. There has been ups, there has been downs, there has been times that we have been so confused on what is actually going on with this team.
While the final score was a blowout, the numbers on the stat sheet tell an even more compelling story. Caitlin Clark proved that she doesn't need to score 30 points to completely dominate a game. Her 14 points were efficient, but her 13 assists were a masterclass in basketball genius. She was a puppet master, controlling the flow of the game and making everyone around her look like an all-star.
Until you realize her team got blown out by nearly 20 points. Individual stats mean nothing when your team is getting embarrassed on national television.
Paige, the second quarter was a tough one. Just what were some of the things that you saw that led to the Fever having such a significant margin?
Mostly just transition defense and us not getting back, maybe crashing too many or just not having two people back, rushing up to the ball instead of getting back, and then just on missed shots.
On the other side of the court, the Dallas Wings were in complete disarray. They looked disorganized, outcoached, and totally unprepared for the Fever's intensity. Paige Beuckers managed to put up 21 points, but it was a hollow performance. Her individual stats meant nothing as she watched her team get systematically taken apart, unable to stop the bleeding.
Comfortable with the microphone. And let me tell you, what came out of her mouth was anything but the usual "we'll get them next time" nonsense we're used to hearing.
About it, but now that you finally have played a game against Caitlin and the W, just what was it like? What was the atmosphere like today going head to head with her?
Yeah, it's fun. Anytime we can compete against each other. We're two competitors who just want to win and who have grown up to be playing against each other, playing with each other. So it's great, and the environment's great here. I feel like every game is a sellout, and so they have a great home court advantage.
When asked about Clark specifically, Paige's response was loaded with more passive-aggressive energy than a group chat after someone doesn't respond to plans. She said they're two competitors who just want to win, which sounds innocent enough until you hear the tone. There was definitely some underlying frustration there, and honestly, can you blame her?
Leroux the other night had a season-high 18 points. Here's Boston turning the corner. Dishing to Hull. Extra feed Clark. A deep three. You bet!
But the real drama didn't unfold under the bright lights of the arena. It erupted in the cold, quiet atmosphere of the post-game press conference. This is where the mask of professionalism slipped, and the raw frustration of a crushing defeat came bubbling to the surface. Beuckers stepped to the podium, and her words would soon send shockwaves through the league.
You went through some of the injury stuff that she has this year. Have you talked to her, offered any support or anything like that?
No, I haven't talked to her personally, but I know she's got a great team around her. She worked extremely hard. She has a great work ethic, sending prayers. You don't wish injury upon anyone. So just wishing her speedy recovery. But no, I didn't reach out personally.
When a reporter asked about Clark's impressive performance, Beuckers' response was dripping with passive aggression. She described Clark as a very smart basketball player who is good at jumping the passing lanes. On paper, it sounds like a compliment, but her tone told a different story, one of grudging respect for an opponent who had just thoroughly outplayed her.
Caitlin Clark reminded everybody who she is in the Fever win over the Wings in what was a blowout victory. One where Clark didn't even shoot the ball well again, but she completely dominated the game and shows the difference between her and everyone else through her playmaking. Not to mention, she played very well defensively. You know, there's this narrative out there sometimes that she's a defensive liability, which is clearly not the case. A bunch of steals in this game, good shot blocking guard as well. But it's what she's able to do to set everyone else up and in the open floor and with her court vision that no one else is able to come close.
This is where the excuses began to pile up. Instead of acknowledging that the Fever were simply the better team, Beuckers pointed to her own team's failures in transition defense. She spoke as if the Fever's fast breaks were random occurrences, not the direct result of Clark's brilliant vision, and the Fever's aggressive, suffocating defense that forced turnover after turnover.
Meaning against Fever, they were trapping you a lot. Today, you were still able to be efficient and get your points. How do you feel like they kind of guard you maybe differently this time compared to the first game?
I feel a lot in the same. I still feel like I could have taken care of the ball better. But two, just making the right read out of the trap, out of them sending a double and then playing to that advantage. So more to do.
What are the challenges that the Fever defense kind of poses when they are blitzing as a unit?
Just bringing two to the ball, which then creates an advantage for us on the backside, playing 4 against 3. So just ball screens are a huge part of our offense, though, and a huge part of what I like to play off of. So just reading that, when to use a ball screen, when not to use a ball screen, when to just get out in space, and either do pitch and catch and touches to try to alleviate that.
Her next excuse was even more revealing. Beuckers complained about the Fever's physicality, claiming it disrupted her team's flow and continuity. But this isn't college anymore. The WNBA is a league of strong physical athletes. Complaining about it in a press conference is a DMN near admission that your team can't handle the heat. Great players don't make excuses about physicality, they adapt to it. Caitlin Clark has faced some of the most aggressive defenses in the league since her very first game, yet she consistently finds ways to be effective. This stark contrast in mentality separates the good players from the truly elite ones, and the gap seems to be wide. But the most telling moment of the entire press conference came from a deeply personal question. A reporter asked Beuckers if she had reached out to Clark personally to offer support during her recent injury struggles. The air in the room suddenly turned ice cold. Her answer was short, direct, and stunningly cold. No, Beuckers stated flatly. I haven't talked to her personally. She followed it up with a hollow, generic line about sending prayers, but the damage was done. The admission revealed a deep, personal frostiness in their relationship. In a league where players often share a unique bond, this was a shocking revelation. The two biggest names of their generation, the faces of the future of the WNBA, and the competition is so intense that a simple gesture of sportsmanship is completely off the table. This rivalry has clearly moved beyond the court. This moment pulls back the curtain on the vastly different paths these two stars are on. Caitlin Clark landed in a perfect situation in Indiana. The Fever have built their entire offensive system around her, designing plays that maximize her otherworldly passing ability and court vision. She is the engine, and the entire machine is built to support her. Paige Beuckers, on the other hand, finds herself on an island in Dallas. She was drafted to be the franchise savior, but the Wings are a team struggling for an identity. The immense pressure to carry the organization to the promised land rests squarely on her shoulders, and that weight is becoming visibly crushing. You have to wonder about the coaching differences as well. Clark has a coach who understands her unique talents and puts her in the best possible position to succeed. The system empowers her. Meanwhile, the Wings coaching staff seems to be throwing things at the wall, hoping something will stick, leaving Beuckers to try and create magic out of chaos. This is the crushing reality of the media narrative. Every time these two play, it's framed as Clark versus Beuckers. And right now, Clark is winning that battle decisively. Every highlight reel, every record-breaking performance, every team win adds another chapter to Clark's growing legend, while Beuckers is left answering for another loss. Imagine the psychological toll of constantly being measured against your biggest rival and coming up short. You can see the frustration etched on Beuckers' face during games. A forced shot here, a costly turnover there. She's not just playing against the Fever, she's playing against the ghost of Caitlin Clark's success. Her body language on the court tells the whole story. While Clark plays with a confident swagger, directing her teammates and celebrating their success, Beuckers often looks tense and isolated. She's trying to take over games single-handedly, a strategy that might have worked in college but gets you blown out in the pros. And so, a vicious cycle is born. The losses reinforce the media narrative that Clark is superior. That narrative increases the pressure on Beuckers to perform. That pressure leads to tense, forced play, which in turn leads to more losses. It's a psychological trap, and it's closing in around her. The uncomfortable truth is that one player is evolving while the other appears to be stagnating under pressure. Clark has adapted her game for the professional level, learning to trust her teammates and let the game come to her. Beuckers is still playing like she has to prove she belongs, and it's hurting both. When Beuckers talks about being hungrier for their next matchup or the need to protect home floor, it starts to sound like empty rhetoric. Tough talk doesn't win games, execution does. The Fever have now beaten the Wings twice, not because they were hungrier, but because they were better. What really separates them is leadership. Clark leads through her actions, by making the right pass, trusting her teammates, and staying composed under pressure. Beuckers is talking about the need for leadership while her team falls apart. One is demonstrating leadership while the other is just describing it. Ultimately, this blowout and the tense press conference that followed were more than just a single bad day for the Dallas Wings. It was a clear signal of a power shift in the WNBA's next great rivalry. One star is ascending to legendary status, while the other is struggling to keep her head above water. The final question remains, are we just witnessing the growing pains of a young superstar learning how to lead a struggling franchise? Or are we seeing something more permanent, a definitive moment where one rival cracked under the pressure, leaving the other to claim the throne for herself?